Who's going to end this era with the most rings on their fingers? Well, today we aim to answer that very question.
I'm looking forward to being a Raven.
What are they getting?
Everything out of me. They're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that.
So, how many Super Bowl rings will each of these top young signal callers win? Well, here's our predictions for how many rings the top 12 quarterbacks under 30 years old will win in their respective careers. And a huge shout out to Usser for suggesting this video. Patrick Mahomes, 4. The Kansas City Chiefs superstar already has 1 Super Bowl ring in his back pocket, and he's a couple of bounces away from having played in 4 consecutive Super Bowls from 2018 to 2021. Mahomes is really in his own class of quarterbacks. His ability to extend plays and pull off unhuman-like throws make him practically impossible to defend against. And it helps that he's playing under an all-time great head coach in Andy Reid and top-tier GM in Brett Veach. No, Travis Kelce won't play forever, but Mahomes has done just fine without Tyreek Hill. Number 15 will adapt and always find a way to make it work, no matter who's on the field with him. He has a flair for the dramatic and isn't fazed at all by the pressure. He's got 1 ring now, but it's not at all difficult to project Mahomes retiring with 4 championships. If this weren't an NFL era dominated by parity, we would love to project even more championships for Mahomes. But hey, you know what? 4 will do just nicely. Josh Allen, 2. If it weren't for Mahomes in Kansas City, who knows? Allen could probably have 1 or 2 more championship rings by now. If Allen isn't the best QB under 30 in the game at the moment, he's the second best, only behind Mahomes. Like number 15 in KC, Allen dazzles with his unique skill set and unhuman-like abilities. And like Mahomes, Allen is supported by a top-notch coaching staff and front office. The Bills have built a star-studded roster featuring elite players on both sides of the ball. We're talking guys like Von Miller, Tre'Davious White, Gabe Davis, and Stephon Diggs. Allen has risen to the occasion time and time again when it matters most. Because of Mahomes and the many other great QBs in the AFC, we're hesitant to give Allen 3. But you know, 2 seems like a pretty safe bet. We'd say it's far more likely than not that he wins multiple rings in Buffalo. Justin Herbert, 1. Admittedly, we're not super sure if Herbert will win his Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Chargers. But at any rate, whether the ring comes with LA or someone else down the line, Herbert is way too talented to go ringless. On paper, the Chargers have built a stacked team around him. The problem is, well, the Chargers have a knack for underachieving when it matters most. How many classic Chargers losses have we seen over the years again? Plus, the Chargers play in a brutal division that is headlined by Mahomes and the Chiefs. Even if the Chargers get past KC, they still have to deal with the likes of the Bills, Baltimore Ravens, and Cincinnati Bengals, among others. The Chargers are by no means a model of consistency like KC or Buffalo. We need to see them make a few playoff runs before we can project Herbert to win a ring here. If it doesn't happen at some point in the next decade, look for Herbert to pull a Matthew Stafford and seek a new home to chase championship glory. Bottom line, Herbert won't be like Dan Marino or Phillip Rivers. He'll walk away from the game with at least 1 championship ring. Dak Prescott, 0. Look away, Dallas Cowboys fans. We refuse to buy into the annual hype around America's team. Now, this is by no means a knock against Dak Prescott. He is a top 10 QB when he's on his game. And he would win a Super Bowl or 2 or 3 if you're on a better team like the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, or Niners. But Prescott is stuck on a Dallas team that does nothing but play below expectations every single year. The Ezekiel Elliott contract is a sign of just how poor the Jones family has been in managing the cap. Dallas will be competitive as long as they have building blocks like Prescott, Zach Martin, CeeDee Lamb, Trayvon Diggs, and Micah Parsons. But a Super Bowl champion? With all these other great teams around the league? Yeah, no, not seeing it. Mac Jones, 1. Let's just say that Tom Brady was lucky to leave the New England Patriots before all these other hotshot young quarterbacks invaded the AFC. He only really had Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger as competition in the conference, and he seemed to always have the latter's number. Now, this isn't to say that Mac Jones won't lead the Patriots to a 7th championship. It's just hard to envision him and Bill Belichick forming another dynasty in Foxborough, given all the parity in the league. Then again, this is Belichick and the Patriots we're talking about. Jones's football IQ and poise make him the perfect long-term replacement for Brady. The model NFL organization always fields a top-tier defense, rushing game, and offensive line. The pieces are always going to be there for Jones to succeed. New England can still contain most of the game's elite young quarterbacks, and they can win the old-fashioned way with lockdown defense and a ground-and-pound offense. We wouldn't be too surprised if Jones led the Patriots to multiple titles, but the stiff competition across the league leaves us skeptical. So we're going to play it safe and project 1 Super Bowl for the Alabama product. DeSean Watson, 0. The Cleveland Browns took a giant risk by acquiring DeSean Watson in a massive blockbuster trade with the Houston Texans. Cleveland decided to make the trade even though Watson was facing 22 civil lawsuits that accused him of misconduct. In another stunner, the Browns handed Watson a massive 5-year deal worth $230 million, with every penny of it being guaranteed. That is a lot of money for a guy who's never played a snap for your team, but hey, to each their own, I guess. This just already feels like a mistake, though. Watson and the Browns will be dealing with public backlash for a long time. There's already a large portion of the Cleveland fan base that has already stopped supporting the team, too. Watson's contract and all the draft capital that Cleveland surrendered in the trade leave them with little resources to improve the roster around him. The O-line is legitimate, but those guys won't be great forever. Nick Chubb is the straw that stirs the drink, but running backs only last so long in today's NFL. Add it all up, and yeah, we're confident in saying that the Browns' championship drought will not end with Watson at quarterback. Kyler Murray, 0. He's still only 25 years old, but the Arizona Cardinals are already wasting Kyler Murray's prime years. Questionable roster decisions and suspect coaching have left the Cardinals in a state of mediocrity. It's quite clear that head coach Cliff Kingsbury and the Arizona front office don't fully 100% trust Murray. I mean, they only removed that strange study clause because of the public backlash. Murray has a deep set of pass catchers, no doubt, but Arizona hasn't given him a proper O-line, and the defense just seems to get worse and worse with each passing year. Arizona just isn't well managed, and they're certainly not built for long-term success like some of the other NFL heavyweights. It's also very difficult to pick a team to win a championship when their coach has a knack for collapsing during the second half of the season. Murray's style of play and undersized frame also means longevity and health concerns. We peeked into the crystal ball but saw nothing with Murray and the Cardinals celebrating a championship together. Tua Tagovailoa, 1. It's amazing to believe that the Miami Dolphins were once unsure of Tagovailoa being the guy. They drafted him 5th overall in 2020, left him a lackluster supporting cast for 2 years, and yet they were already prepared to give up on him for DeSean Watson. Anywho, the Fins hit a home run in hiring Mike McDaniels as head coach. The decision to pair Tyreek Hill with fellow speedster Jalen Waddle has taken the Miami offense to a whole new level, and there is no telling how far this super trio will go when they're on the field together. Miami's defense remains legitimate too, with Xavier Howard, Jalen Phillips, and Javon Holland leading the way. The Dolphins have finally returned to relevance under GM Chris Greer, and there is just so much youth and veteran talent to be excited about in South Beach. Sure, there is a lot of parity in the NFL, but give us one Super Bowl for Miami with Tagovailoa leading the way. We know that they'll get their big break one day. Jalen Hurts, 1. You can argue all you want if Hurts is a great quarterback or if he's simply the beneficiary of a 5-star supporting cast and an innovative offensive mind and head coach Nick Sirianni. But that debate is meaningless. The bottom line is that the Eagles have risen from the ashes and are suddenly competing for Super Bowls again. The offensive line is the best in the league. The rushing game remains as good as ever, and the defense is loaded with playmakers from the secondary to the front 7. Meanwhile, Hurts gets to distribute the ball to a pretty amazing trio of pass catchers in A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. We've seen Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick, Nick Foles, and Carson Wentz all catch fire in Philly for a period of time before leaving earlier than expected. So, that trend suggests that Philly will eventually part ways with Hurts and seek another QB upgrade down the road. But that likely won't be for a while. Right now, Hurts is flourishing in this offense, and the Eagles have too many stars, both young and old, on both sides of the ball. They are winning a Super Bowl in the not-so-distant future. We'll give Hurts 1 ring for now. It's just too difficult to forecast how long a QB with his style of play will last with an organization that runs a highly successful quarterback factory. Trevor Lawrence, 1. This is a risky call, we know, because the Jaguars have been the NFL's most dysfunctional franchise for over a decade now. But we just have way too much faith in a generational QB of Trevor Lawrence's caliber. And he has the perfect mentor and head coach in Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl in Philly with a backup QB. The stockpiling of those draft picks has really started to pay major dividends. The Jaguars have Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, and Tyson Campbell anchoring a quality defense. And over time, they should be able to vastly improve their offensive line and pass-catching group. Lawrence was hyped as a generational QB for a reason. Who knows if it'll be in 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years, but at some point, he will be headlining a Super Bowl championship parade in Duval County. Lamar Jackson, 1. The Ravens' 2 Super Bowl champions came with 2 non-elite quarterbacks, Trent Dilfer in 2000 and Joe Flacco in 2012. But you know what? Lamar Jackson is an elite quarterback, and he will one day lead the Ravens all the way to the promised land. It's not just Jackson himself, though. The best dual-threat QB since Michael Vick has certainly done his part, sure. But the Ravens always find a prolific rushing game, quality O-line, and a championship-level defense. They are the NFL's best at the draft table. Head coach John Harbaugh is Hall of Fame bound, and that Mark Andrews guy is a pretty good tight end too. Jackson has everything going for him in Baltimore. The Ravens have the pieces to go toe-to-toe with the NFL's best. Their ground game and ball-hawking defense will always give opposing teams issues. A 3rd Lombardi trophy is coming to be more, courtesy of Jackson. The only reason we can't project more than 1 ring for Jackson is because of all the stiff competition in the AFC that we've already talked about. But hey, 1 is better than 0. Joe Burrow, 1. Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals were oh so close to beating the Rams in Super Bowl 56. It was a gut-wrenching loss, no doubt. But not to worry, because Burrow will eventually bring this franchise its first championship. The Bengals were among football's worst-run teams before Burrow arrived. But he, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Mixon give this team so much firepower up front. And the defense just keeps finding ways to surprise under DC Luanarumo. It's going to be a dogfight between the Bengals, Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, and Dolphins in the AFC for a long time. But the Bengals are way ahead in their rebuild and almost won it all in a year that they weren't supposed to even make the playoffs yet. That unexpected Cinderella run will eventually fuel them to a Super Bowl championship in the Burrow era. It's just 1, but it's always the first that matters most. But which quarterback do you think will win the most Super Bowls over the next decade? Join us in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.